Jake Morrison stood at the big window of Kepler Station and looked out at the enemy ships. The alien ships looked like giant crystals floating in space. They had been there for 3 months now, surrounding the station like a wall of blue light. Every time Jake looked at them, he felt angry and worried at the same time. "Commander Morrison, sir," a voice called behind him. Jake turned around to see Amy Collins walking toward him. She was young, maybe 25, with short brown hair and tired eyes. Amy worked as his communications officer, and she always brought him the daily reports. "What's the news today, Amy?" Jake asked, though he already knew it would be bad news. "Food. Supplies are running low, sir. We have enough for maybe 2 weeks if we keep cutting portions." Amy's voice was quiet and scared. "The hydroponics bay is working at full power, but it's not enough. We have 10,000 people on this station and not enough food to feed them." Jake nodded slowly. He had been expecting this news for weeks. The Zephyrians had cut off all supply. Ships coming to the station, no food, no medicine, no weapons. They wanted the humans to give up without a fight. The alien strategy was simple: wait for the humans to get hungry enough to surrender. "Have you seen Dr. Harper today?" Jake asked. "Yes, sir. She's been in the plant growing section for 3 days straight. I think she's working on something new, but she won't tell anyone what it is." Jake walked through the station's long metal hallways toward the hydroponics bay. The station was huge, with living areas, work sections, and defense systems all connected by corridors that seemed to go on forever. But even in such a big space, Jake could feel the fear and worry of the people living there. The hydroponics bay was where they grew all their food. It was a large room filled with plants growing under bright artificial lights. Usually the bay was green and full of life. But today Jake saw that many plants looked sick and dying. The station's power was being rationed, and the plants weren't getting enough light or heat. Dr. Lisa Harper was kneeling next to a row of wheat plants, making notes on a small computer. She was in her 40s, with gray hair pulled back in a ponytail and dirt under her fingernails. Lisa had been the station's head plant scientist for 5 years, and she knew more about growing food in space than anyone else on the station. "Lisa, how are things going?" Jake asked as he walked up to her. Lisa looked up, and Jake could see she was exhausted. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, and she had been wearing the same clothes for days. "Not good, Jake. The plants are dying faster." "Then we can grow new ones." "The power cuts are killing them, and we don't have enough space to grow food for everyone." "Amy told me you're working on something new." "What is it?" Lisa stood up and brushed dirt off her hands. "It's crazy, Jake. Maybe too crazy to work." "But I've been studying something called Neuro-Farming. It's a way to connect human brains directly to plants to make them grow faster and stronger." Jake frowned. "That sounds like science fiction, Lisa." "Maybe it is, but we're running out of normal options." Lisa led Jake to a small laboratory connected to the hydroponics bay. The lab was filled with strange equipment that Jake didn't recognize. "I've been working with brainwave patterns and electromagnetic fields. The idea is that human thoughts can actually influence plant growth at a cellular level." "Is it safe?" Jake asked. "I don't know. We've never tried it on humans before. But Jake, we're going to starve if we don't do something soon. The Zephyrians are counting on us being too weak to fight back." Across the station, Captain Roy Bennett was meeting with his security team. Roy was a big man with gray hair and scars on his face from old battles. He had been a soldier for 30 years, and he knew how to fight. But this was different. They were trapped, surrounded, and running out of time. "The aliens think they have us beaten," Roy told his team. "They're sitting out there waiting for us to give up, but they don't understand humans very well." "Sergeant," Pete Taylor spoke up. "What do you mean, sir?" "They think if they make us hungry enough, we'll surrender. But hunger doesn't make humans weak. It makes us dangerous." Roy looked at each of his soldiers. "We need to find a way to turn this situation around." "How, sir?" "We can't fight their ships with what we have." Roy smiled grimly. "We don't fight their ships. We fight their plan. They want us to starve, so we make sure we don't starve. They want us to give up, so we find a way to fight back that they don't expect." Back in the hydroponics bay, Lisa was explaining her neuro-farming idea to Jake in more detail. The human brain produces electrical signals that can be measured and controlled. If we can focus those signals and direct them toward plant cells, we might be able to speed up growth, increase nutrition, and even create new types of food. But you said it's dangerous? The person connected to the system would be mentally exhausted afterward, and we don't know what long-term effects it might have. But Jake, if we don't try something, we're all going to die anyway. Jake thought about the 10,000 people on the station. There were families with children, elderly people, and workers who had come to Kepler Station to build a better life. They were all counting on him to keep them safe. What do you need? From me? Jake asked. Permission to test the system? And volunteers. I need people who are willing to risk their minds to save everyone else. Jake nodded. You have my permission. But I want to be the first volunteer. Jake, no, you're needed to run the station. If this thing is going to work, people need to see their commander believes in it. I'll be the first test subject. Lisa looked worried, but she nodded. Okay, but we start small. Just a few minutes connected to a single plant. If anything goes wrong, we stop immediately. That evening, Jake called a meeting of all the station's department heads. He told them about Lisa's neuro-farming idea and asked for volunteers. The response surprised him. I'll do it, said Dr. Kevin Ross, Lisa's assistant. I've been studying plant biology for years. If anyone can make this work, it's me. Count me in, said Maria Santos, a communications specialist. I grew up on a farm. I understand plants. One by one, more people volunteered. Tim Johnson from maintenance, Kate Wilson from engineering, dozens of others. They all understood that. This was their only chance to survive. The Zephyrians watched from their crystal ships, as strange energy readings began coming from the human station. Their sensors detected new electromagnetic patterns, but they couldn't understand what the humans were doing. To the aliens, it looked like the humans were getting ready to surrender, but Jake Morrison knew better. As he prepared for the first neuro-farming test, he thought about humanity's greatest strength. It wasn't their weapons or their technology. It was their ability to adapt, to find new solutions when old ones failed, and to never give up even when things seemed hopeless. Tomorrow we start something new, Jake told his senior staff. The Zephyrians think they know how this siege will end. They're about to learn that they don't understand humans at all. Outside the station, the alien ships continued their silent watch, waiting for the humans to break. But inside Kepler Station, something extraordinary was about to begin. The siege was about to become something completely different than either side had expected. The next morning, Dr. Lisa Harper's laboratory was busy with activity. She had worked all night to set up the first neuro-farming interface machine. The device looked like a chair with wires and sensors attached to it. Next to the chair was a computer screen showing brainwave patterns and a small growing box with a single wheat plant inside. Are you sure this is going to work? Dr. Kevin Ross asked as he checked the equipment. Kevin was Lisa's assistant and best friend. They had worked together for 3 years, and he trusted her more than anyone else on the station. I'm not sure about anything, Lisa said honestly. But the theory is sound. Human brains create electrical signals that can be measured and controlled. If we can focus those signals toward plant cells, we should be able to make them grow faster and stronger. Commander Jake Morrison entered the lab wearing a simple uniform. He had volunteered to be the first test subject, and Lisa could see he was nervous but determined. I'm ready when you are, he said. Jake, I need to explain exactly what will happen, Lisa said. You'll sit in this chair, and I'll attach sensors to your head. The computer will read your brain waves and send them to the plant through electromagnetic fields. You need to focus all your thoughts on the plant growing bigger and stronger. How long will it take? Jake asked. We'll start with just 10 minutes. If anything feels wrong, you tell me immediately, and we'll stop. Jake sat down in the chair, and Lisa attached the sensors to his forehead and temples. The computer screen lit up with colorful lines showing his brain activity. Kevin monitored the plant's condition on another screen. Okay, Jake, close your eyes and think about the wheat plant. Picture it growing taller, picture the grain getting bigger and heavier. Focus all your attention on that one plant. Jake closed his eyes and began to concentrate. At first, nothing happened. The plant sat in its growing box looking the same as it had for weeks. But slowly, the sensors began to pick up changes in Jake's brain waves. The colorful lines on the screen started moving in new patterns. Something's happening, Kevin said quietly. The plant's cellular activity is increasing. Lisa watched the readings carefully. Jake's brain waves were creating electromagnetic pulses that were somehow affecting the plant's growth. It was working, but she could see that Jake was already getting tired from the mental effort. After 10 minutes, Lisa turned off the machine. That's enough for the first test, she said. Jake opened his eyes and looked tired but excited. Did it work? Kevin was staring at the plant with amazement. Look at this, he said. The wheat plant had grown 2 inches taller in just 10 minutes. Its leaves were greener and stronger, and small grain heads were already starting to form. What should have taken weeks had happened in minutes? This is incredible, Jake said, standing up from the chair. But I feel like I just ran a marathon. My head is pounding. That's the mental exhaustion I was worried about, Lisa said. The process uses a lot of brain energy. You'll need to rest for several hours before you can try again. Then we need more volunteers, Jake said. If we can get enough people working in shifts, we can keep the process going all day and night. Word spread quickly through Kepler Station about the successful test. People were excited and hopeful for the first time in months. But Lisa knew they needed to be careful. The neuro-farming process was still experimental and potentially dangerous. The first volunteer to step forward was Sergeant Pete Taylor. Pete was a big man in his 30s who had grown up on a farm in Iowa. He understood plants and he wasn't afraid of hard work. I've been growing crops my whole life, Pete told Lisa. If this can help feed people, I want to try it. Lisa set up the equipment for Pete's session. This time, she connected him to a growing box with tomato plants. Pete sat in the chair and focused his thoughts on the tomatoes growing bigger and redder. The results were even better than with Jake. Pete's farm background seemed to help him connect with the plants more easily. In 15 minutes, the tomato plants had grown from small seedlings to mature plants with ripe fruit ready to harvest. This is amazing, Pete said when the session ended. I could feel the plants responding to my thoughts. It was like they were listening to me. Dr. Ross was taking notes on everything. The electromagnetic patterns are different for each person, he observed. Pete's brain waves created different frequencies than Jake's, and the plants responded differently. That might be important, Lisa said. Different people might be better at growing different types of crops. Over the next few days, more volunteers came forward. Maria Santos, a communications specialist, discovered she had a natural talent for growing protein-rich beans. Tim Johnson from maintenance was excellent at growing potatoes and root vegetables. Kate Wilson from engineering could make fruit trees grow faster than anyone had ever seen. They called themselves the growth cores, and they worked in shifts around the clock. Each person would spend 15 to 20 minutes connected to the neuro-farming system, then rest for several hours while someone else took their turn. The results were remarkable. Food production increased by over 300% in the first week. The plants grown through neuro-farming were not only bigger and more nutritious, but they also seemed to resist disease and pests better than normal plants. The neural connection is doing more than just speeding up growth, Lisa explained to Jake during one of their daily meetings. It's somehow improving the plants at a genetic level. The tomatoes Maria grew yesterday have twice the vitamin content of regular tomatoes. How is that possible? Jake asked. I think the human brain is somehow rewriting the plant's genetic code while it's growing. When Tim focuses on potatoes, his mind automatically optimizes them for nutrition and taste. It's like the plants are becoming better versions of themselves. Captain Roy Bennett was impressed by the results, but he was also thinking about the bigger picture. This is great for food production, he told Jake. But we still have the problem of those alien ships sitting outside our station. Food won't help us if they decide to attack. One problem at a time, Jake said. Right now, we're solving the hunger problem. Maybe that will give us time to figure out how to deal with the Zephyrians. But something strange was happening that they hadn't expected. The neuro-farming process was creating electromagnetic fields that extended beyond the growing areas. The station's sensors were picking up unusual energy readings throughout the facility. Dr. Ross noticed it first. Lisa, look at these readings. The electromagnetic fields from the neuro-farming sessions are affecting other systems on the station. What kind of effects? Lisa asked. Some of the computer systems are running faster. The power systems are more efficient. And there are some energy signatures I don't recognize at all. Lisa studied the data. The human brainwaves are creating resonance patterns that affect more than just plants. This technology might have applications we never imagined. Meanwhile, the Zephyrians in their crystal ships were becoming concerned. Their sensors were detecting the strange energy patterns coming from the human station, but they couldn't understand what they were seeing. The electromagnetic signatures didn't match any known human technology. The humans are doing something unusual, reported the Zephyrian fleet commander to his superiors. Their energy output has increased significantly, and the patterns are unlike anything in our databases. Are they preparing weapons? Asked the Zephyrian Council. Unknown. The energy signatures are too chaotic to be weapons, but they are definitely planning something. Back on Kepler Station, the growth cores was expanding rapidly. More volunteers signed up every day, and Lisa was training them as fast as she could. The station's food shortage was quickly becoming a food surplus. Pete Taylor had become the unofficial leader of the growth cores. After dozens of neuro-farming sessions, he had developed an almost supernatural ability to connect with plants. It's like talking to them, he explained to new volunteers. You have to listen to what they need and give it to them through your thoughts. Does it hurt? Asked a new volunteer named Sarah. No, it doesn't hurt, but it's tiring. You're using your brain in a way it's never been used before. After a session, you feel mentally drained but also satisfied, like you've accomplished something important. Lisa was documenting everything. The neuro-farming process was creating a completely new relationship between humans and plants. The volunteers were learning to understand plant biology at an instinctive level, and the plants were responding by becoming stronger and more nutritious than ever before. We're not just growing food, Lisa wrote in her research notes. We're evolving a new form of agriculture that could change how humans live throughout the galaxy. But the most important discovery was still to come. As the growth cores continued their work, they were about to stumble upon something that would change the entire situation with the Zephyrians. The neuro-farming technology was more powerful than anyone had imagined, and its effects extended far beyond growing better tomatoes and wheat. The siege of Kepler Station was about to take a very unexpected turn. 2 weeks after the first successful neuro-farming test, Dr. Lisa Harper was studying the daily reports when she noticed something incredible. The plants being grown through the neural interface weren't just bigger and healthier than normal plants. They were completely different. Kevin, come look at this, Lisa called to her assistant. Dr. Kevin Ross walked over to her desk, where she had spread out test results and food analysis reports. What am I looking at? Kevin asked. These are the nutrition reports for the crops we've been growing. Look at these protein levels. Lisa pointed to a chart showing the contents of beans that Maria Santos had grown the day before. Kevin's eyes widened. These can't be right. These beans have more protein than meat. That's exactly what I thought. So I ran the tests 3 times. The results are the same every time. Lisa pulled out more reports. And look at Tim Johnson's potatoes. They have vitamin levels that shouldn't be possible in any root vegetable. How is this happening? Kevin asked. Lisa stood up and walked to the window overlooking the hydroponics bay. Below them, members of the growth cores were working with their neural interfaces, connected to various crops throughout the growing area. I think the human brain isn't just speeding up plant growth, Lisa said. It's actually rewriting the genetic code of the plants while they're growing. When Maria focuses on beans, her mind automatically programs them to produce more protein. When Tim works with potatoes, his brain optimizes them for vitamin content. But that's impossible. Humans don't know enough about genetics to do that consciously. That's the key word, consciously. I don't think they're doing it on purpose. The human brain seems to have an instinctive understanding of what plants need to be better. It's like evolution happening in real time, guided by human thought. Down in the hydroponics bay, Maria Santos was finishing her morning session with a new crop of soybeans. She had been part of the growth course for 10 days now, and each session seemed to get easier. The connection between her mind and the plants felt more natural every time. "How do you feel?" asked Dr. Ross as he disconnected the neural interface sensors from Maria's head. "Good, tired, but good. I can feel the plants responding to my thoughts. It's like they're trying to become what I need them to be." Maria looked at the soybeans she had been working with. "These feel different than the ones I grew yesterday. Stronger somehow." Dr. Ross ran a quick analysis on the beans. "Maria, these have 30% more protein than yesterday's crop, and the protein structure is different. It's closer to what you'd find in animal meat than in plant protein." "Is that good or bad?" Maria asked. "It's incredible. If we can reproduce this consistently, we could create plant foods that provide complete nutrition. People could live entirely on what we grow here." Across the bay, Tim Johnson was working with a new type of root vegetable. Tim had been experimenting with different crops, and today he was trying to grow something that had never existed before. He was focusing his thoughts on creating a vegetable that combined the best qualities of potatoes, carrots, and sweet potatoes. "I can feel it changing," Tim said to Pete Taylor, who was monitoring his session. "The plant is trying to become what?" "I'm thinking about—" Pete watched the growing box carefully. The plant inside was unlike anything he had ever seen. It had the root structure of a potato, but the color of a carrot and the nutritional density of a sweet potato. "This is amazing, Tim. You're not just growing existing plants anymore, you're creating new ones." When Tim's session ended, they harvested the strange new vegetable. It was orange like a carrot, but shaped like a potato, and when they tested it, they found it had the nutritional benefits of all three plants combined. "We need to show this to Dr. Harper right away," Pete said. Lisa was excited when she saw Tim's creation. "This proves my theory," she said. "The human brain can actually design new plant species through the neural interface. We're not just farmers anymore, we're plant engineers." But the most remarkable discovery came from Kate Wilson, the engineering specialist who had been working with fruit trees. Kate had been trying to grow apples that would stay fresh longer without refrigeration. During her session, she had focused intensely on creating fruit that could survive in space conditions. "Dr. Harper, you need to see this," Kate said after her session ended. She led Lisa to a small apple tree that had grown remarkably fast under the neural interface. "What's special about it?" Lisa asked. "Watch this," Kate said. She picked an apple from the tree and placed it in a container with no air. Normal apples would start to rot within hours in a vacuum. But these apples can survive in space conditions for days without any protection. Lisa stared at the apple in amazement. "How did you do that?" "I don't know. I just focused on making fruit that could survive anywhere." The plant seemed to understand what I needed and changed itself to provide it. The implications were staggering. The growth cores wasn't just solving the food shortage on Kepler Station. They were creating entirely new forms of life that could survive in conditions that would kill normal plants. They were developing crops that could grow on hostile planets, in space stations, or in environments where regular agriculture was impossible. "We need to document everything," Lisa told Kevin. "We're witnessing the birth of a completely new form of agriculture. This technology could change human civilization." But as the Neuro-Farming program expanded, they began to notice other effects. The electromagnetic fields generated by the neural interfaces were affecting more than just plants. Electronic systems throughout the station were behaving strangely. "The computer networks are running faster," reported the station's head of information technology. "The processes are operating at higher efficiency levels than their specifications allow." "The power grid is more stable too," added the chief engineer. Energy distribution is optimized in ways our systems weren't designed for. Lisa realized that the neural interfaces were affecting the entire station. The brain waves of the growth core's volunteers were creating electromagnetic fields that improve the performance of all electronic systems. It's like the human brain is a universal optimizer, she explained to Commander Jake Morrison. When focused through the neural interface, it can improve the efficiency of any system it touches. Jake was impressed but also worried. If we can see these effects, the Zephyrians probably can too. Their sensors must be picking up all this electromagnetic activity. What do you think they'll do? Lisa asked. I don't know. But they're definitely watching us more closely. Their ship formations have changed, and they're sending more probe ships near the station. Outside Kepler Station, the Zephyrian fleet was indeed becoming more interested in the human activity. Their sensors were detecting electromagnetic patterns unlike anything in their databases. The human energy output has increased by 400% in the past 2 weeks, reported the Zephyrian science officer. The patterns are highly organized but extremely chaotic at the same time. Could they be developing new weapons? Asked the fleet commander. Unknown. The energy signatures don't match any known weapons technology. But they are definitely doing something that affects their entire facility. Continue monitoring. If the humans are planning something, we need to be ready. Back in the hydroponics, the growth cores was working around the clock. They now had 50 volunteers working in shifts, and food production had increased by 500%. The station's food crisis was completely solved, and they were beginning to build surplus supplies, but more importantly, they were learning to create foods that no one had ever imagined. Plants that could survive in space, vegetables with nutrition levels that surpassed anything found in nature, and fruits that could provide complete meals in a single bite. We're not just growing food, Pete Taylor said to the newest group of volunteers. We're creating the future of human nutrition. Every plant we grow through the neural interface is better than anything that existed before. Maria Santos had become an expert at creating protein-rich plants. Her latest creation was a grain that had more protein than beef and could be grown in a fraction of the time it took to raise cattle. I never thought I'd be able to create life, she said to her friend Kate. But that's what we're doing. We're bringing new forms of life into existence through our thoughts. And they're not just alive, Kate replied. They're perfectly designed for what we need. It's like the plants know what we want and change themselves to provide it. Dr. Lisa Harper was documenting every session, every result, every breakthrough. She knew they were witnessing something historically important. The Neuro-Farming technology was more than just a way to grow food. It was a tool that could reshape life itself. We're not just feeding people, she wrote in her daily report. We're creating a new relationship between humans and living things. The neural interface allows us to communicate with plants at a genetic level and guide their evolution in real time. But the most important discovery was still to come. As the growth cores continued their work, they were about to stumble upon something that would change everything. The electromagnetic fields they were generating had effects that extended far beyond the station, and those effects were about to become very important in their conflict with the Zephyrians. 3 weeks into the Neuro-Farming program, Dr. Lisa Harper was working late in her laboratory when she noticed something strange in the data. The electromagnetic readings from the growth core sessions were showing patterns she had never seen before. Kevin, look at these wave patterns, Lisa called to her assistant, who was reviewing plant growth reports at a nearby desk. Dr. Kevin Ross walked over and studied the computer screen. These look different from the usual readings. What changed? That's what I'm trying to figure out. These readings are from Kate Wilson's session yesterday when she was working with the apple trees. But look at this spike in electromagnetic output right around the time she finished. The data showed a sudden burst of electromagnetic energy that was much stronger than anything they had recorded before. But what made it really interesting was that it had happened right when one of the Zephyrian probe ships was passing near the station. Kevin, pull up the station's external sensor data from yesterday at the same time. Kevin typed commands into his computer and brought up the sensor readings. Lisa, look at this. The Zephyrian probe ship experienced a system malfunction right when Kate's electromagnetic burst occurred. Lisa felt her heart rate increase. Are you saying that Kate's neuro-farming session affected the alien ship? It looks that way. The probe ship's navigation systems went offline for about 10 minutes, right during the electromagnetic spike. Lisa stared at the data, trying to understand what it meant. We need to test this, but we have to be careful. If we can affect their ships, that could be either very good or very bad for us. The next morning, Lisa called a meeting with Commander Jake Morrison and Captain Roy Bennett. She explained what they had discovered about the electromagnetic effects on the Zephyrian probe ship. So you're saying that our plant-growing activities can damage their ships? Captain Bennett asked. Not damage exactly, but interfere with their systems. The electromagnetic fields generated by the neural interfaces seem to disrupt Zephyrian technology. Jake leaned forward. How is that possible? I think it has to do with the chaotic nature of human brainwaves. The Zephyrians build their technology around very organized, predictable energy patterns. Human consciousness is the opposite. It's random, creative, and unpredictable. When we focus our brainwaves through the neural interface, we create electromagnetic chaos that their ordered systems can't handle. Captain Bennett smiled for the first time in weeks. So we've accidentally discovered a weapon. Maybe, but we need to understand it better before we try to use it intentionally. That afternoon, Lisa set up a controlled test. She asked Kate Wilson to perform another neuro-farming session while a Zephyrian probe ship was nearby. This time, they would monitor everything carefully to see exactly what happened. Kate sat in the neural interface chair and connected to a small fruit tree. What should I focus on? She asked. Just do what you normally do. Focus on making the tree grow healthy fruit, but this time, really concentrate. Put all your mental energy into it. Kate closed her eyes and began to focus on the tree. The sensors showed her brain waves becoming more intense than usual. The electromagnetic field around the neural interface grew stronger on the external sensors. They could see a Zephyrian probe ship about 2 kilometers away from the station. At first, nothing happened. But as Kate's concentration deepened, the electromagnetic readings spiked dramatically. There! Kevin called out, watching the external sensors. The probe ship just lost power to its navigation systems. The alien ship began to drift slowly, its engines offline. After about 15 minutes, the ship's systems came back online and it moved away from the station much faster than usual. It worked, Jake said with amazement. Kate, how do you feel? Kate opened her eyes and looked tired but excited. I felt something different that time. Like there was resistance against my thoughts, as if something was fighting against the neural field. That something was probably the Zephyrian ship's computer systems, Lisa explained. Your brain waves were disrupting their technology. Captain Bennett was already thinking tactically. If one person can affect one ship, what could 50 people do to their entire fleet? That's what we need to find out, Lisa said. But we have to be very careful. If we make the Zephyrians think we're attacking them, they might decide to destroy the station instead of waiting for us to surrender. Over the next few days, Lisa worked with different members of the growth corps to test the electromagnetic effects. She discovered that some people were better at generating disruptive fields than others. Pete Taylor, with his strong connection to plants, could create powerful electromagnetic bursts. Maria Santos could generate steady interference that lasted for hours. Each person's brainwaves create different types of electromagnetic patterns, Lisa explained to Jake. Pete's are like lightning strikes, short and powerful. Maria's are like radiostatic, constant but weaker. What about combining them? Jake asked. That's what I want to try next. If we can coordinate multiple people to focus their neural output at the same time, we might be able to create an electromagnetic field strong enough to affect multiple ships. But they had to be careful about timing. The Zephyrians were becoming suspicious of the energy readings coming from the station. Their ships had moved into tighter formations, and they were sending more probe ships to investigate. They know something is happening, Captain Bennett reported. Their patrol patterns have changed, and they're keeping their main fleet farther away from the station. Good, Jake said. That means our electromagnetic fields are making them nervous. Or it means they're preparing to attack us before we can do whatever they think we're planning. Lisa knew they were running out of time. If the Zephyrians decided to attack, the station's defenses wouldn't last long against their superior firepower. They needed to test the coordinated electromagnetic burst soon. She selected 10 of the most experienced Growth Corps members for the test. Pete Taylor, Maria Santos, Kate Wilson, Tim Johnson, and 6 others who had shown strong neural interface abilities. This is different from regular neuro-farming, Lisa explained to the group. Instead of focusing on plants, I want you to focus on projecting your thoughts outward toward the alien ships. Imagine your brainwaves reaching across space and disrupting their technology. Is it safe? Asked Tim. I don't know. We've never tried anything like this before. The mental strain will probably be intense, and we don't know what long-term effects it might have. We're willing to try, Pete said, speaking for the group. If this can help protect the station, we'll do it. They arranged the neural interface chairs in a circle in the center of the hydroponics bay. Lisa connected each person to the system and synchronized their brainwave monitors. The plan was for all 10 people to focus their thoughts at the same time, creating a coordinated electromagnetic burst. Remember, don't focus on plants this time. Focus on reaching out toward the alien ships. Imagine your thoughts traveling through space and disrupting their systems. The 10 volunteers closed their eyes and began to concentrate. At first, their brainwaves showed the normal patterns of neural interface activity, but as they synchronized their thoughts, something remarkable happened. The individual electromagnetic fields began to merge into a single, massive wave of energy. The station's sensors showed electromagnetic output levels that were 10 times higher than anything they had recorded before. Lisa, look at the external sensors. Kevin called out urgently. On the screens showing the space around the station, they could see the effects immediately. Every Zephyrian ship within 5 kilometers of the station suddenly went dark. Their engines shut down, their weapons powered off, and their navigation systems failed completely. It's working, Jake said with amazement. The entire local fleet is disabled. But the effort was taking a severe toll on the volunteers. Their brain wave patterns showed extreme stress, and several of them were starting to shake from the mental strain. That's enough, Lisa called out. Everyone stop and disconnect. The 10 volunteers opened their eyes, and most of them immediately collapsed from exhaustion. But they were smiling despite their fatigue. Did we do it? Pete asked weakly. You disabled 23 Zephyrian ships, Captain Bennett reported, watching the external sensors. Their entire advanced fleet is drifting powerless. Outside the station, the Zephyrian fleet was in chaos. Ship after ship had lost power simultaneously, and their crews were struggling to understand what had happened. The main fleet, which had been farther away, immediately began moving toward the disabled ships to assist them. They're regrouping, Jake observed, and they're probably very angry. Let them be angry, said Pete, who was slowly recovering his strength. We just proved that humans can fight back. Maybe now they'll think twice about this siege. But Lisa knew this was just the beginning. They had discovered that neuro-farming technology could be weaponized, but they still didn't fully understand its potential or its dangers. The electromagnetic burst had been successful, but it had also used enormous amounts of mental energy from the volunteers. We need to perfect this technique, she told Jake, and we need to train more people to use it. The Zephyrians won't be caught off guard twice. As the Zephyrian ships slowly restored power and regrouped. The morning after their successful test, Commander Jake Morrison stood in the observation deck watching the Zephyrian fleet regroup. The alien ships had restored power to their disabled vessels, but they were now keeping a much greater distance from Kepler Station. They're scared, said Captain Roy Bennett, joining Jake at the window. Look at their formation. They've pulled back to 10 kilometers and they're staying there. Good, that gives us time to prepare for whatever they're planning next. Dr. Lisa. Harper entered the observation deck carrying a tablet full of data. She looked tired but excited. Jake, I've been analyzing yesterday's electromagnetic burst. The power levels we achieved were incredible, but I think we can do better. Better how? Jake asked. We only used 10 people and they were focused on disruption. But what if we used all 50 members of the growth cores and instead of just disrupting the alien ships, we tried to change them? Captain Bennett frowned. Change them how? The same way we change plants. The electromagnetic fields from Neuro-Farming. Don't just speed up growth or create interference. They can actually alter the structure of living things. What if Zephyrian technology is somehow alive? Jake considered this. You think their ships are biological? Not exactly biological, but not completely mechanical either. Their technology is based on crystal structures that grow and change. It might be possible to influence those crystals the same way we influence plants. That's a big risk, Captain Bennett said. If we try to attack their entire fleet and it doesn't work, they'll definitely destroy the station. I don't think we should attack them, Lisa said. I think we should try to help them. Both men stared at her in surprise. Help them? Jake asked. Think about it. The Zephyrians built their entire civilization on perfect order and control. But life isn't about control. It's about growth, change, and adaptation. What if we could show them that? Before Jake could respond, the station's communication system activated. A voice spoke in the melodic tones of the Zephyrian language, translated by the computer into English. Human station, this is Fleet Commander Zathek of the Zephyrian Defense Force. We have detected unusual energy emissions from your facility. Explain your actions immediately or we will consider them an act of war. Jake walked to the communication console. This is Commander Morrison of Kepler Station. We are not preparing for war. We are simply trying to survive. Your energy emissions have interfered with our vessels? This is unacceptable. Your blockade has prevented us from receiving food supplies. That is also unacceptable. We are doing what we must to feed our people. There was a long pause before the Zephyrian commander responded. You will cease these emissions immediately or face the consequences. Jake looked at Lisa and Captain Bennett. They both nodded. We cannot do that, Commander Zathek. Our people need food, and this is the only way we can provide it. The communication ended abruptly. Within minutes, the Zephyrian fleet began moving into attack formation. They're coming, Captain Bennett said, watching the alien ships advance. All ships moving toward the station at attack speed. How long do we have? Jake asked. 20 minutes, maybe 30. Lisa was already moving toward the door. That's enough time. I need to get to the hydroponics bay and prepare the growth cores. Lisa, wait, Jake called after her. Are you sure about this? About trying to help them instead of fighting them? No, I'm not sure. But fighting them with weapons will just get us all killed. This is the only chance we have. Lisa ran through the station's corridors to the hydroponics bay. When she arrived, she found all 50 members of the growth cores already assembled and waiting. Word had spread quickly about the approaching fleet. What's the plan, Doc? Asked Pete Taylor. We're going to try something that's never been done before. Instead of disrupting the Zephyrian ships, we're going to try to change them. We're going to use the same techniques we use on plants, but direct them toward the alien technology. Change them how? Asked Maria Santos. I think Zephyrian technology is based on living crystals. If that's true, we might be able to influence their growth and development the same way we influence plants. But instead of making them die or malfunction, we're going to try to make them better. Kate Wilson raised her hand. What does better mean for alien technology? More alive, more flexible, more capable of growth and change. Right now, the Zephyrians are trapped by their own perfection. They can't adapt because their society doesn't allow for chaos or unpredictability. We're going to give them the gift of imperfection. The Growth Corps members looked uncertain but determined. They had volunteered to risk their lives to save the station, and they trusted Lisa's judgment. This will be more difficult than anything we've done before, Lisa continued. Instead of focusing on one plant or even 10 plants, you'll be focusing on hundreds of alien ships. The mental strain will be enormous. We can handle it, said Tim Johnson. If this is our best chance to save everyone on the station, we'll do whatever it takes. Lisa quickly set up the neural interface equipment for all 50 volunteers. They arranged themselves throughout the hydroponics bay, surrounded by the plants they had grown over the past month. The irony wasn't lost on Lisa that they were preparing for battle in a garden. Remember, don't try to destroy or damage the alien ships. Focus on growth, change, and adaptation. Picture the ships becoming more alive, more flexible, more capable of evolution. Outside the station, the Zephyrian fleet was approaching rapidly. Their weapons were charging, and their crystal hulls were glowing with aggressive energy patterns. 10 minutes until they're in firing range, Captain Bennett reported over the communication system. Beginning the procedure now, Lisa responded. The 50 members of the growth corps closed their eyes and began to focus their thoughts. Lisa monitored their brainwave patterns as they synchronized their neural output. The electromagnetic readings began to climb rapidly, but this time, instead of the chaotic, disruptive patterns they had created before, the brainwaves were organized into something new. The patterns resembled the growth frequencies they used for plants, but amplified and directed outward toward the approaching fleet. Energy output is increasing, Dr. Kevin Ross reported. Electromagnetic field strength is already 10 times higher than our previous maximum. The effects on the Zephyrian fleet were immediate and unexpected. Instead of losing power or malfunctioning, the alien ships began to change. Their crystal hulls started to shift and flow like living tissue. New structures began to grow from their surfaces. Lisa, look at the external cameras, Jake called from the command center on the screens. They could see the Zephyrian ships transforming. The rigid, geometric shapes were becoming more organic. Crystal formations that had been perfectly symmetrical were developing unique patterns and variations. It's working, Lisa said with amazement. The ships are becoming more alive. But the most remarkable change was happening to the Zephyrians themselves. Inside their transforming ships, the alien crew members were experiencing something they had never felt before: individuality. For millions of years, Zephyrian society had been based on absolute conformity. Every member of their species thought the same thoughts, felt the same emotions, and made the same decisions. But the electromagnetic fields from the growth cores were introducing chaos into their perfectly ordered minds. "Fleet Commander," called one of Zaphak's officers, "I am experiencing unusual thoughts. I find myself disagreeing with our mission." "Impossible," Zaphak replied. "Zephyrians do not disagree, but I do disagree. I think this siege is wrong. These humans are only trying to survive." Across the fleet, similar conversations were taking place. For the first time in their history, Zephyrians were thinking as individuals rather than as a collective. The physical changes to their ships reflected the mental changes happening to the crews. Where once there had been identical vessels, now each ship was developing its own unique characteristics. Some grew additional structures for communication, others developed new forms of propulsion, and still others began to sprout what could only be described as gardens. "Commander Morrison," came a new voice over the communication system. This time it was different from the formal, collective tone of Zephyrian communications. It sounded uncertain, curious, almost human. "This is Commander Morrison. I think I am individual designation Kemoth. I was part of the fleet attacking your station, but I find I no longer wish to attack. Is this what you call choice?" Jake smiled. "Yes, Kemoth. That's exactly what we call choice. It is. Disturbing, but also wonderful. I have never experienced anything like it. May I ask what you have done to us?" "We shared something with you, the ability to grow and change, to be imperfect and unique." One by one, ships began to break away from the attack formation. Their crews were discovering individuality and finding that they liked it. The rigid hierarchy of the Zephyrian fleet was dissolving as each ship's crew began to make their own decisions. Fleet Commander Zaphak was one of the last to be affected, but when the change finally reached him, it was dramatic. I have Made a terrible mistake, he announced over the communication system. This siege was wrong. We came here to force you to surrender, but you have given us something far more valuable than victory.